Hello and welcome to the exercise section. So I hope by now you should know how to write a class, how to define properties and methods, and how to create an instance of a class, how to access the properties and method using that object. Okay, with this we will create one more example and we'll try to create a bank class. Okay, that's your first task. You have to create a class that is called as bank. Then you have to define the property of the bank class. You have to have three properties: account number, name of that user, and what is the balance amount that is there for that user in the bank. Then you need to have three methods: deposit amount, deduct amount, and check balance. So if someone says deposit amount, so add this amount to the balance. When someone says deduct amount, deduct this amount from the balance and make sure you check whether the balance is less than 0 or less than this amount. If the balance is greater, then you try to deduct this amount from that balance. Then you will check the balance, you'll just print the balance with the account number. Okay, so you create an account for an user, means you will define a user with the user ID, with the account number and the name and this initial balance. Then you will call the methods by checking the balance, depositing the sum of the amount and deducting some amount from his bank account. This is very a classic example of how can you implement your bank example into an OOP concept. Okay, if it's very difficult for you to initially do this exercise, or maybe it's too much for you to think through and write all these things, well, you can do two things. First, you can give a try, write whatever you know without seeing anything or referring back, so at least you get to know which area you don't know. When you do understand, you can go back and watch that video and give a try out by yourself. When you practice, you will understand. Write whatever way you know, just put some echo statements and then try to write it out. Then you'll understand what are the things that you cannot understand, what are the things you are lacking. Second approach will be, there will be a PHP material folder where you can just open up the material file, have a glance through it, close the file and then do the exercise by yourself. Okay, so you can take any approach you want, but make sure you try this exercise. Without writing any program, watching the videos is useless. You're not going to learn anything out of this course unless you write this program by yourself. So I highly recommend you write the programs, get used to how to write OOPs, because for the next concepts you need to understand how these basics work. Okay, so make sure your basics are strong and you understand how to write a class, how to define properties, how to access them inside a method, and how to call these methods and how to call the property from an object. For now, please try to do the exercise so that it helps you to understand these concepts better. But you can pause this video and do the exercise. Okay, welcome back. So let's do this exercise. So I'm going to create a bank class here. So we have to create a class and call it as bank. Then we have to define three properties, that is the account number, name, balance, and initially we'll say balance is 0. Okay, we need to have three functions. One is deposit amount, deduct amount, you need to have check balance. For this you need an input parameter. Okay, so first thing we need to do is deposit the amount, so you have to just add to this balance. Okay, so for this we'll use this keyword, and to this balance we will add the balance plus the amount. Okay, let's write the deduct amount. So deduct amount, you have to check whether the balance is not less than 0. So we'll say this balance, if the balance is less than equal to 0, then you can say no balance in the account, and you just print something and then you return from the program. Okay, and the next situation, if the balance is less than the amount, okay, then you can say the requested amount is greater than balance. So you cannot really withdraw the amount. Okay, and if none of these conditions are true, then you can safely deduct the amount. Okay, next you have to do a balance check. Here you can simply say echo your account balance. That's your balance. Okay, let's create an instance. So we have three methods, we have three properties: account number, name, and balance. Then we have three methods: deposit amount, deduct amount, and check balance. Deposit amount, you pass in the amount, you basically add into the actual amount. Deduct amount, you basically check whether the balance is less than 0, then you cannot really deduct the amount. If the balance is less than equal to the actual amount that has been requested to withdraw, even you cannot do this operation, so you come out of this function, or else you basically deduct that amount from the actual balance. Okay, and check balance, you just print the balance. Okay, so let's define the bank now. The first thing you can do is you can basically set the account number. It's basically like an opening of the account, right? So you have the account number, then you can set the initial balance for that account. You can say 500, and you can set the name of that account holder. Okay, now you can start accessing those methods. So you can say check balance, then you can actually do deposits, deposit of 500, then you can again check the balance, then you can deduct the amount, deduct 100, then you check balance again, and this time you try to deduct a bigger amount, let's say 2000, and you try to check the balance. Okay, so let's execute this program. Okay, so initially the bank account was having 500 amount, then the account balance was 1000 because you added in 500, we deducted 100, so it becomes 900. Then you try to request to deduct the amount which is greater than your actual balance, so it was not able to deduct it. Then it's actually show you the account balance. Okay, so it's very easy to formulate your bank concept into a class as well. All this is basically a mindset, right? This is like an ATM, right? You're putting your card and then you're trying to do some transactions, and all the transactions can be represented in a class, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a component of bank, and then you try to put the properties and the methods that's basically working together to stimulate an object. That's basically an ATM object could be, right? So you're trying to create a bank class and try to do the bank transaction here. Well, this is the exercise, and if you have done something similar, then that's a good job. And if you haven't really understood how this works, I highly recommend that you do this exercise. Try to figure out what are the missing pieces that you haven't understand, and try to work around with this and try to execute this program to see whether you are able to get the same output or not. Okay, so that's all the exercise on how to create a bank class, and I'll see you in the next one.